My guest today on Development Dimes, y'all. Come on now. She hails from Beverly Hills by way of Atlanta.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. The A is on the show today, representing for you folk down there. And of course, I say down there because you're down south. And so, I'm excited to have her. She is a graduate of Tuskegee University. She calls herself the Hype Williams of architecture. When I saw that, I was like, I absolutely love that. She's an amazing entrepreneur. She's a mentor, an actress. And the reason why she is here today is because she is an architectural CEO of her own firm, folk. Okay, that's how we are doing it here today. We are doing it big, and I absolutely love it. So it's Xena Design and Marketing Firm. She has two locations, two, Beverly Hills and Atlanta. That is just absolutely amazing. You've done design projects, if I'm not mistaken, for the Atlanta airport, which is huge. Live Nation, BET, higher educational institutions, and residential projects, right? And so she was recently featured in Business Insider. That's some good stuff. So please join me, everyone, in welcoming to Development Dimes, Ms. Xena Stryker.
Thank you so much, Tawanda. I am such a Beverly Hillbilly tomboy that when I get introductions like that, I'm like, are they really talking about me? Just to let you know, I was not born in Atlanta. I was born in a little old country town called Columbus, Georgia, an hour and a half south of Atlanta. So I'm really, really country, as in like great grandmama used to go outside and get our dinner and wring the chicken's neck and stuff. So for me to be in Beverly Hills, I'm the real life Beverly Hillbilly.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oftentimes when people think of Georgia, all they say is Atlanta, right? And it's like Georgia is so much more than that. It really is. I have some young ladies on my team down there. One is from oh gosh, shouldn't have brought it up. I want to say Athens, but maybe not. But anyway, it's not Atlanta. So, definitely many more places down there that has raised some amazing people. And so let's go ahead and get into it. One of the things that I love about what you do is the fact that you are a Black woman in the architectural space. And I know it's not easy, coming from where I came from and being like the only Black female, Black person as a commercial real estate lender at a company that I used to work for, a bank I used to work for. Is not always easy. There are some people that have your back, but not always. And so first of all, before we even do a deep dive into that, tell me why architecture is a career.
Why? Well, I have a very non-traditional upbringing. When I was born, my father was serving time in prison, and he just had time all day to sit and think about me, because when you're in prison, you got a lot of downtime. So he knew he had a baby on the way, and he was converting to Muslim.
Okay.
And while he was there, he had a lot of Muslim mentors, and some of them were architects that would come into the prison and talk to them.
Oh, nice.
And my father had already done, like some carpentry and things like that. So he knew a little bit about, as-built and things. And so when they would talk to him about, what do you want for your daughter? And he was like, I want something stable, like what you guys are doing. I want her to get paid to think, not do. And so he held on to that. And when he got out, he was moving fast with me, like in terms of like learning how to draw, different type of like perspectives. Like I'm 2 years old learning how to properly hold a pencil. And what was funny was my father was left-handed. Okay. And he was like, I want you to know how to draw with both hands, and he like really just held on to me. And it was great seeing him do things, because one of his jobs was to do the courtroom sketches, once he was released. And so I didn't look at my father in a negative light at all. I thought that his career was the most amazing career, because I would just see him drawing the defendant and the plaintiff, and I thought it was just so cool, So whatever he told me was gold. And then he put me in so many art competitions. I still kind of thought it was like a play career. You know how a lot of kids say, I want to be a policeman. Right. But it wasn't until I watched Jungle Fever
Okay.
by Spike Lee, and I saw Wesley Snipes' character
Mm-hmm.
as an architect. And in my childlike mind, I thought it was real.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like there's a Black architect. I can be one too. Even though it was a fictional character, in my little mind, I'm like, it's a Black architect, so I can do it. And I actually told this story to Spike Lee. So it was that put the nail in the coffin. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take high school drafting. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do what I can to pursue architecture.
Awesome. I mean, I love to hear people's stories because I think the whole premise, well, an additional premise of Development Dimes is to let young women know and young girls know that there are so many different opportunities out here to be whatever you want to be. And it doesn't matter your background, right? Like so many of us have so many different backgrounds, but we all seem to be able to move forward in what we may deem as our purpose for this point in time. And so, I love the fact that your dad wanted that for you. And I love the fact that you embraced it, right? Like, so we can just kind of like talk about that for a second.
It's different when your daddy tells you something.
Right.
Different than mom. I don't know why, but it is.
It is. I have 3 children, and trust me, raising them with my husband, if daddy says something, oh, okay, mommy says something, okay, whatever. That's like I don't care too. But I just absolutely love that because I think as a parent, one of the things that we're tasked to do as parents is to see what our child's abilities are and try to help them hone that, right? Now they may change as they get older, but if we can just kind of give them that open avenue to explore different things to see what they may and may not like, I think that's commendable as a parent. So that's amazing that your dad did that for you. And I know he's so proud. Like, look at you now.
He is so proud. He brings it up all the time. And I'm just going to be very honest. When I look at my oldest sister that's 12 years older than me, she didn't have a plan, and right now she's still like spinning in that circle, so it's like, I could have definitely steered away from architecture, which I did a little bit of acting, just recently got into development. I still do art, but at least I had some type of plan to keep me on a straight path versus sometimes like the golden child and other kids is just like, okay, you're special because you're special. And then, they stop being a little cute and get grown. It's just like, okay, now what you gonna do? And it's nothing, so I'm happy that I was given a strict path even before I was born because I could stick with it and still do my thing and come back to it whenever I felt like it.
Awesome. I think that's a key point too. Having just that, not that you need a plan B or fail safe or something like that, but I think as a parent looking for something for your children, and I didn't even mean to go in this direction, but here we are. Looking at it from a parent's perspective, you always want them to have something that they can fall back on, right? And that is a piece of what it is that they already love to do. So if you can kind of marry the two, that's just amazing. And as a parent, it's just like, they got it. And whatever else that they try to do, if it fails, fine, because they at least have this thing, and that's something that they still love to do too. So good stuff. So let's pivot, since we found out why architecture. So when you first got into the business, I know I mentioned a little bit about me kind of being like the only one in the space that I was in. How was it for you getting into architecture at a firm, or how did you start and where did you kind of, yeah.
Well, I didn't know any architects versus a lot of my classmates. I went to Tuskegee, and it's not like what you think. It's not like what's on TV where you think it's just regular old Black folks. No. These are a lot of Black people that went to white private schools and then they high schools, and then they went to a white private college. This is not people coming from backgrounds like me where their father was in prison. Okay. And so they could make a phone call. They knew architectural firms that could hire them. I didn't know anybody, On top of that, I graduated during the recession. So architectural firms weren't doing well at all. So it was rough. And so what I did was I taught high school. I taught high school drafting. I was to those students what my teachers were to me. I was an advisor for Skills USA, TSA. We won national competitions. I wrote it out until 2014. I was like, okay, I got to do what's right for me. The economy is picking back up. Till this day, I do not know where this email came from. But I received an email from Yaya Hassan, AIA, asking if I would like to take on a position at Pratt Group.
Wow.
To this day, Yaya is my business partner.
Awesome.
He's no longer at Pratt Group. I'm no longer at Pratt Group, but he's my business partner. He does not know how he found my email address. I mean, I did like a reverse search to see if I ever emailed him. We don't know how we met.
Wow. Well, we know how you met. Okay. Everything
And
has a divine reason.
Yes, yes. But when I was at Pratt Group, that was my first taste of racism in architecture. The owner of Pratt Group, he had no clue I was working there because my supervisor would not give me assignments. I would literally be sitting in the cubicle and she wouldn't give me any assignments. So I had nothing to put on my timesheet. So I was just sitting there and it was just miserable, you know. And then one particular day, the owner came by and he said, "Ma'am, may I ask who you are?"
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And I told him who I was, and he went clean off on that woman. He said, "You mean to tell me I have a Black woman that has a degree in architecture sitting here working for me, and we're not applying for minority bids?" And I'm thinking to myself, what is a minority bid? You know, what is he talking about? You know? And he told her, like, "We're trying to do stuff in the Atlanta airport and they don't know that she's here." And I was trying to put the pieces together to figure out what is he talking about, you know? And he forced her to take me to the airport. And that's when I found out that the Atlanta airport has this initiative to help minority businesses. And if you don't give 50% of an opportunity to a minority-owned business in the city of Atlanta, you'll be sanctioned.
Nice.
And so that's what he was telling her, you know, like, you're hurting this firm by trying to hurt her. And experience let me get some research. And then I found out how valuable I was to firms and to the city of Atlanta. And once I found that out, I left. I started working for another firm. Again, it was a white firm, but the treatment was so much better, so much better. And then I found private clients. My first one was Kenny Burris's best friend, Tamara Wynn. And I started doing her airport concessions. Behind me is one of her airport concessions.
Nice.
And things got so much better. You know, I ended up working at another all-white firm, and it was horrible after I left the pretty decent firm I was at. And that's when I decided to just go out on my own and get more clients like the one behind me so that I can do my thing.
Right. Awesome. Well, first of all, that looks amazing behind you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. And so, you know, for me, I think that whole experience sometimes is necessary, you know, because you just don't even realize what, like, for instance, you didn't know that opportunity existed with Atlanta Airport, right? And so, you know, oftentimes we may not be made privy to that information, but for. So, you know, I love the fact that the experience was had, so you know for the next time. And as you are a mentor, am I correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And so now you can pass that on to your mentees.
I do it all the time. I tell them, I say, "Hey, did you know that the most chicken sold is from that Popeyes in the Atlanta airport?" You know, so not just for architecture. When I see these professional athletes saying they don't know what to invest their money in, and their uncle has a really good barbecue recipe, I say, hold off on that. You know, like, we're not going to risk this with your uncle and creating a little lounge over there. You're going to get you a Popeyes and put it inside the airport. You're going to get you a Chick-fil-A and put it in the airport. You know, you're going to get you a franchise and learn how to run a restaurant, because guess what? The airport is 24/7, baby. They dropping chicken, and, you know, you don't have to worry about stop and go traffic or a parking lot or anything like that. People are not going to complain about their food as much because they're trying to get to their flight. You know, you still have to be a professional, but that is so much less risk than you depending on your drunk uncle to go and make the barbecue for a little lounge over there that's probably not going to last 3 years. So all of this, I send it to not just my architecture mentees, but also to my clients. I just push out as much as I've learned along the way.
Nice, nice. I love that because it's really about relationships, right? And it's about spreading the wealth of information. If people feel like they can trust you, they know, like, and trust you, they will not only work with you, but they'll also refer you to people, right? And so let's go back to, you said that you were at one firm, you left that one, went to a halfway decent one, left that one, went to another one. And then you said, you know what? Look, let me tell you something. I just posted something on my Facebook page. I think it was Facebook or Instagram, one of them. And it basically said that people are laughing at you because you keep starting over. I'm laughing at you because you never gave up, right? And so I love the fact that you were smart enough for yourself to kind of realize that there was a trajectory that you needed to go on, right? There was a path that you needed to follow.
And please know that my family was talking smack the whole time.
Yeah, but look at you now, right?
Most educated person in my family, and they're sitting around smoking cigarettes on the dirty couch talking about me.
Oh, bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. And so that kind of leads me to another thing, right? So when you're working to put together your businesses and all of that, there is a certain element that you need around you, a certain positivity, a certain kind of like-mindedness, right? And so moving from those firms to starting your own firm, like, what was that like, and why did you do it, and how did you start?
Okay, the last firm I was at, I really noticed a pattern. When there was the one senior African American at a job, not just architecture, but if there's just one and they've been there for almost 20 or 30 years, pay attention. They're usually not doing their job. You don't really know what they're doing. I have news for you. They are there to support that company, and if there is ever an EEOC filing. So basically, I noticed that there was only one there, had been there like forever, and I was assigned under him. And there was one that was biracial in HR. So if there was ever something that a racist, non-Black person wanted to say to me, they would get that person to do it. So I noticed that that person is not, and they always want to put them over like DEI or something like that. But I promise you, that person is there to oversee a minority and scold a minority. So if you file an EEOC, that company can say, well, we gave her an African-American supervisor, but she's just extremely disagreeable. And this is what he said about her. That person did not draw anymore. They are basically the backbone of the racism. So I was like, I see what's going on. I'm not going to keep fighting. I'm not going to put up with this. And I received a phone call to film a pilot of a television show.
Okay.
At that time, I didn't know what the show was, but they needed dancers that were reliable and professional. Okay. And I went and I did the pilot, and they called me back for a recurring role. And I was making $1,200 for 8 hours plus time and a half overtime. Okay. So if I stayed there for 12 hours, you can do the math. I was making about $2,000, $2,500 per day. And I just started saving my money. And that TV show is P-Valley. Okay. And once I got my money up, I was gone. I said, Beverly Hills, here I come, baby.
Good stuff.
I filed everything with the Secretary of State. I called up some mentors. I was like, how do I do this? How do I file the professional license? How do I get the business insurance, the professional insurance? Like, what do I do next? And then you will be shocked how people respect you when you make a courageous leap. Yeah, they're waiting on you to make that leap before they help you. And when I made that leap, the people who I least expected to help me, some past supervisors, they helped me. And I dipped, and I have not looked back. And I am so happy that I made that leap and became an entrepreneur.
Nice. So I need to make sure you all were paying attention to the dimes that she just dropped, y'all. Okay. I mean, being able to call people, that requires you to have networked or made great relationships, right? And then understanding who you are as a person and knowing that you don't know it all, but you have the ability to pick up the phone and the courage to call and ask for assistance, right? And like you said, people love that. They love when you take that leap of faith like that because they want to see you win. And there are people that don't want to see you win, but then you just put them over there on the shelf and you keep it moving, right? And so
Those people would be a little embarrassed too if you were to tell someone, you know, let's say you're successful now. You say, well, I'll call such and such, and he was a gatekeeper. He wouldn't tell me anything. They would be embarrassed, you know. So kind of lean on that a little bit, you know, and sometimes drop names. Say, this important person gave me this information. This important person gave me that information. And I decided to call you for this. They're going to think about it. Like maybe she's going to tell them that I'm not going to help her. So then they'll just go ahead and help you.
Now, okay, so that was a dime that I've had in my back pocket for a while, but now it's out there, folks.
Name drop.
Yes, I love
Name
it.
drop.
You know, sometimes you have to do that. And I love the fact when you do have people that say, do it, right? They say, use my name.
Yes.
Because I know what it's going to do for you, and I'm okay with that. And again, I think it really comes back to that relationship building, because if they trust that if you use their name, that you're not going to make them look bad, if you will.
Tarnish their reputation.
Exactly. You know, they're more willing to allow you to do that. So that was a dime, y'all, that was dropped again. So I think that was probably about 4 or 5 dimes already. Make sure y'all paying attention. And so let's go into after starting your own firm. You know, I typically tell people in any type of entrepreneurial business that you want to do, you have to have the right team behind you, right? And, you know, some people feel like I can be a one-man shop, I can be a solopreneur and stuff like that. And even if you don't have people like working physically for you, you still have to have a good team around you. So just kind of touching on what it is that you do, which is architecture. A lot of people that get into flipping and development, and you mentioned that you're a developer now, they don't even realize the importance of having an architect on your team.
That is the craziest thing that I'm finding out, because people are sitting up here saying they're getting money to build something. I'm like, how do you know how much money to get if you haven't even done the feasibility study or the schematics and got it priced by an architect?
Right.
You don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
And then you go straight to this general contractor because they have the gift of gab and they seem so nice, but that's the one that's screwing you with no Vaseline.
That part.
So, and then you don't have a construction administrator overseeing that general contractor. You always start with the architect before you think about doing anything. And I'm not talking about a house flip because it's different. Right. Anything commercial, you go to the architect and you talk about it. And then after that, you go to the city. And you ask the city, are you cool with this? What do you want right here? Is there money available for this? Are you going to support this? And you will find out a lot if it's going to be a green light or a red light. Before you do anything, you go to the architect and then you go to the city. You know, something I highly recommend is cohorts. Because cohorts get straight to the training versus college is a bunch of googly gop and you're taking unnecessary classes, you know. But if you're in a cohort, your professors are adjunct professors that have been there, done that, and they can do it with their eyes closed. And whenever I'm in a cohort, I'm paying attention to who's in the cohort with me. You know, who is that lawyer that specializes in affordable housing? Let's go to lunch, girl. You know, who is that person over there that is a professional painter and knows how to do plaster, you know, let's go to lunch. And then my professors, I don't say thank you for teaching me by. I add every single professor on LinkedIn, follow up with a message, because guess what? If I don't understand something, if a project's about to die, if the sun is setting on an apartment complex, I'm calling that professor. And I'm like, what do I do? And those professors from University of Colorado Boulder, MIT, USC, they're smart as I don't know what. And they're going to tell you what to do, and they're going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's really where I started getting my team from, cohorts.
Okay. And I love that. So I was actually recently a part of a cohort, maybe about 2 years ago, called Capital Impact Partners.
Oh, congrats. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they started out in Detroit and then came here to the DMV area. And so a lot of people were in that cohort who had also participated in Project REAP, a part of
I'm a reaper.
yeah, oh, you all are strong. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so super strong. Like that network is absolutely ridiculous. So much so I'm like, do I need to do yet another cohort? And I'm not
Yeah, I say keep them going because that's Urban Land Institute. I started out at Auburn for master real estate development,
okay.
did read Urban Land Institute, and I don't think I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to do University of Southern California, the Ross program.
Okay.
I'm forever a student. I'm going to just keep going because, again, you get more knowledge,
Right.
save a lot of money, and then you meet more people.
Right.
That's to help you and send you business and, put money in your pocket. So I recommend just keep going cohort to cohort every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. I'm definitely thinking about that. But you mentioned one of the things about the different people who are in the cohorts, like, the attorneys and all of that. So one of the things that I do like about that is typically the people in the cohorts are local. And they have different types of connections and all of that. So, just to kind of tie it in, as an architect, when you are starting to work on those deals, and like you said, sometimes things may be kind of getting a little rocky and you need to make some phone calls and ask for some assistance and all of that. Going back to the beginning, though, of the project, when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I want to do this in this community, we know as BIPOC people, our communities are actually gold mines to people, where to others, they're not looked at it because on the surface, it looks like one thing, but underneath, you can see that there's really gold in them there hills, right? Which are Beverly Hillbillies type thing. And so when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I'm looking to do a project in this community, what is it that you say to them first? And then what do you do to kind of bring that idea to life for them and for the community?
I'll use a recent example. Someone from Project REAP called me, a realtor, and he says, I need help with a commercial lease for a client. They are trying to get a second location for their restaurant. And I said to him, well, I don't really have the time to help you with that, but there was someone from Jamestown Properties in our cohort. Reach out to her. And once you reach out to her, call me back because I can give you another resource. And he followed protocol and did that. And I said, your client, being African American and having the issues that she's having in Cobb County, one of the most racist counties outside of Atlanta, I said, I think she should come on to the city of Atlanta, Fulton County. And the reason for that is her process with the permit office will be a lot smoother. On top of that, we have something called Invest Atlanta. With Invest Atlanta, they have so many resources for startup companies, so much money that they are willing to just pass out. All you have to do is sit for the Zoom classes. You cannot get any money cheaper than from Invest Atlanta in terms of loans and grants. And people think it's too good to be true, but look into that before you sign that lease. So for me, giving him that protocol, they ended up coming back to the city of Atlanta and getting the old Gladys Knight's chicken and waffles location and using that because it's within the city limits of Atlanta. And now they can go to Invest Atlanta for the funding instead of going to their bank and getting denied or getting ridiculous interest rates, but the city of Atlanta will back them. So again, those resources are part of the Black community. We know about them, we share them, and we'll let them know if you're not happy or if you're being harassed in Cobb County and things, it was crazy stuff. Like they were complaining about the line being wrapped around the building. That's something to celebrate.
Exactly.
Not get upset about, So I'm like, just come on to Atlanta. It's more opportunity, more money, more funding. And that's exactly what they did.
Nice. And so I think as a professional, right, not only do we have to know about what it is that we do, what our job requirements are, but I think, again, having that extra knowledge, like what you just stated, this area may not be best for you, but this area may be because of the permitting process and then the connections and having the capacity to make phone calls, like whatever it is.
Some of those little hick towns, girl, they will tell you that you need the blood from a virgin from Bankhead and you need this, that, and that. It's like, and they basically telling you to get out of here. It's like a raisin in the sun, but on a commercial level, it's not worth it. Just go where you're wanted and respected.
Right. And there'll be some people willing to fight the good fight, but it's not for everybody. But seriously, like some of us don't have time to take on that fight. But it's not to say that we won't be there for those who will. But it starts from somewhere, and somebody has to take that mantle. It just doesn't have to be you, right? And that's okay. And that's okay. So I think for me, somebody that's getting into real estate development, they're getting into large scale investing and all of that. Again, having an architect on the team is so important, because you mentioned like permitting process. That in and of itself, if you don't have someone who knows not only about the design, they know about the community, they're able to get out and speak to the community on your behalf. They
That's
can
the key right there, because they do not want to hear from y'all. I'm gonna be honest. They don't want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from your lawyer. They just instantly think gentrification. Even if you're Black, they're gonna think it. So it's best to have the architect to go and speak on your behalf at those town meetings. And it's to the point where I can't show up with stuff like this because they think it's done. They think they didn't have an input. So I have to show it with the watercolor rendering. That way they think, oh, she's still sketching and she wants our input. And then you soften the community up and there's less resistance. They also pop out with money. Oh, we actually have a $50,000 grant for you. So you are 100% correct. You send your architect out there to do all the talking.
Yep. I like it. I love it. Again, for those of you who are getting into this space, is kind of new for you, make sure that you find someone who knows the communities that you want to work in. They have those connections. They have the bedside manner, right? They need to be able to have conversations with people and hear and listen too. Because, even if the design doesn't change, because sometimes the design is what it is, right? And so the design may not change, but being able to go into those spaces and have those conversations with the community.
They want to feel involved. That's all. They just want to feel involved.
Yeah, they do. And I think, for us, that's something that we as people just want, period, in our communities. You have to kind of think about where it is that you are. If somebody came in and they said, hey, I'm going to do XYZ, and that's not what you want, then it could be a problem, right?
There's a lot of misunderstandings as well. Sometimes there's like a park behind the church, and the whole time that park belonged to the city. They just let the church and community use it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the city's going to do something. People they start flipping out. That's our park. We've been using it for 20, 30 years, but they don't know that the city was simply being kind, allowing you to use it. And the city was maintaining the grass, the fencing, all of that. But they need someone like you and I to go and say that in a very euphemistic, tactful, empathetic way and help them understand the Fifth Amendment, 10th Amendment, and 14th Amendment as it applies to real estate development, and break that down into day-to-day terminology, and so that these people can understand, like, nobody's just taking you and displacing you and your kids, from this community. It was never yours.
No, I know I keep saying I love that, but I do, because I think, again, I know one of the premises of this whole platform that I'm using is to just show the expertise, the professionalism of women of color in this space. And she just talked about amendments, y'all. So it to me, it's just so important to have people on your team that understands just those types of bits and pieces of information to be able to help you get over the finish line for your project. It really is. I mean, to be able to break that stuff down like that, you don't find too many people who can. And so, it behooves anyone who's getting into this space to vet your team members. You have to vet them, right? It's not just surface vetting. It's like really going in and having deep diving conversations to make sure at the end of the day that you're on the same page and that you are going to be able to get your project completed. So again, the whole team thing is important. Wanted to go ahead and wrap it up. So tell me a little bit about your company. So we talked earlier, I mentioned that you've done designs for like BT, you've done designs for, I don't even think I mentioned celebrities, but I'm quite sure you have some folk that you've done some things for. So talk a little bit about your company, and then also put in that, like, how big is your reach? Because somebody's like, hey, I want to talk to her like I have going over here in DC. Like, how does that?
Oh, we're nationwide.
Nice.
The thing about architecture is once you become NCARB, you can stamp in any state. You just send your transcript and they'll license you in any state except California. There's an easement exam that you have to take. So what we do here is we just simply join up with another local architect if we do need a stamp in California. But again, we're nationwide, and we do cool projects. The reason that people call me the Hype Williams of architecture is because I do these grand reveals and I add music to them. And it's because when I'm designing, certain songs are like playing in my head. Like when I did the skating rink for BET and Live Nation, as I was designing, I was like, dun, 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 dun. Hey, dun, 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 dun. Hey, hey, tell me, when will I see you smile again? So I put myself in the environment. I don't know if you went skating in the early 90s, but there was a skate mix and I know all the songs, And so I was like dissociating as if I was skating, in the 90s. And that's why the skating rink came out so great,
Awesome.
And when I give this stuff to the general contractor to build out, I don't just give a stack of plans. I want them to get it. I want them to feel it. So I give them virtual walkthrough with the music playing over it, and a general contractor is like quiet most of the time. He's just like looking. Okay. I'm like, you got it? I'm sure you got it, and everybody loves it. So I'm not the type of architect that's going to go in, give you some plans and walk away, which I don't understand why y'all hire people to do that. Cause I'm like, you don't even know what it's going to look like. You didn't get any rendering.
Yeah.
Like, why are you, how did they they must can sell salt to a snail, because I would never think that someone would hire me without seeing the dang on building. Like, how you know it's going to look good? And I see it all the time on like Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? The women are coming with a rolled up plans with a hard hat on, and they're throwing salt on charade, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if that helper can point to the door.
Wait a minute.
Like, can she really? Does she even know what she has in her? No. So I know that a lot of celebrities and athletes, they don't know how to read plans. So I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to give you something like what's behind me, something 3D so that you can see it. And you can say, hey, expand that a little bit, change that color. And then I'll have my Excel sheet and I'll let them know, like, I have one screen up here with the rendering, one sheet with pricing. And then you can instantly see how much the price is going up or down when it comes to the RFIs and the change orders.
I love it. No, that's perfect. And because, to one of your points that you were making, and just to kind of finish it a little bit, for those of you, not trying to dumb it down, but I want you all to understand, hiring an architect and then getting whatever, your little renderings, and then that architect leaves, that architect needs to be a part of the entire process.
The whole process.
Yes.
And one thing I learned at Auburn, we did case studies, and we always learned that when the general contractor was hired before the architect, problems always came. Always came. Either the project died or something. The general contractor does not leave. Okay. You get with your architect and you come up with your schematic design, go through design development, construction documents, and you send that out to bid. Okay. And you send that out to at least 3 general contractors, okay?
Yes.
Now their quotes are not going to be the same. They're going to be different.
Yep.
It's like getting a quote from McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King.
Right.
It's going to be different. However, you look, and if a quote comes in ridiculously low, you never tell them what the other ones bid. You always say, hey, can you check over that? Because sometimes it was a missing number in the the performer or whatever, so it jack things up.
Right.
But if it's really, really low, something is wrong. That's just like, you getting a McDonald's burger instead of the Ruth Chris burger. But again, you bring the general contractor in last to bid, and then you have your architect or simply a construction administrator that doesn't know anybody, doesn't have a
dog in the fight.
anything, a dog in the fight, yeah. And they oversee it and make sure that everything is, because sometimes people will change things because they'll say, oh, this material is gone or whatever, but they really want to send a bid out to their buddy to play golf with. And so that CA person, construction administrator or architect, number one, we have to make sure that whatever's going to be changed isn't going to make the building fall down. That's number one. Yep. And number two, we're going to make sure that we stay on schedule and you're not being scammed.
Yes.
So I don't know what it is about people saying, oh, this general contractor worked on my house, I'm going to use him to design my restaurant. That's 2 different things. What are you talking about? And what? But it happens every day. Wow. And they always say, I love his work. That's not his work. That's the architect's work.
Right.
He's building out what the designer drew. That's not his work, boo. And I don't understand why I have to say this to grown people. But I'm serious. I don't get it.
Well, yeah, and again, I think it really goes back to people not even understanding architecture, right? They think it's just something that you look when you're walking down like a main street somewhere in historical buildings. Oh, the architecture of that building is beautiful, but they don't understand, to your point, somebody had the vision, but they used this architect to bring the vision to life, basically, right? And so it's not the builder that's doing that, because it's not the builder. It's the architect.
They're just building it from the plans.
They're just building it from the plans.
There's a saying right now, if anything goes wrong, people say, I blame Ice Spice. So when it comes to this, my saying is, I blame HGTV.
Right. Right. I mean, we all do in some form or fashion, right? Whether you are a realtor, developer, an investor, a GC or architect, like,
they put in a bunch of googly eyes on TV, and they're not showing the people with the Revit and stuff that's drawing this stuff. And then they just show some people putting paint on the walls and blasting through. Boo, that has nothing to do with somebody sitting here drawing this for months and you just didn't see it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then too, just one last point about making sure that you keep the architect throughout the whole process. You mentioned HGTV, and I saw an episode on one of the shows, not going to name the show. But the guy was actually really good. And so as he's going through trying to remodel this house, there was some foundational issues with the property. And as he kept digging, he kept finding
That's every project. You're going to find something.
Right. And so, but because of that, like, he still needed to now bring an architect in.
Go back to the drawing board. That's what the phrase comes from. People don't understand the go back to the drawing board. We used to actually draw on drawing boards. So that phrase comes from architecture. You have to go back to the drawing board. And we're back on the clock. We're back on the clock. You have to pay us. We're not doing this for charity. We are not the American Red Cross. Right. Like, just like you call a lawyer back up, we back on the clock. Boo.
Exactly. I love it. I mean, so honestly, it's so much more that I wanted to talk about. We're going to have to try to do it again. But I think the premise of what I really wanted you all to know, if you're getting into this space, don't forsake the abilities and the need to have an architect on your team. I can't stress the importance enough of having a competent, capable, professional, look at me, knowledgeable. I didn't even have wine, y'all, not yet.
No,
Um,
I was stuttering throughout too because my mouth got tacky. So please don't think I have a speech impediment. My mouth was tacky, so it's okay to laugh.
no, you are fine. I typically like to have a glass of wine kind of off camera just a little bit, but it's all good. I'll do it after I finish. But no, seriously though, it's so important to have a knowledgeable and professional architect on your team when you're doing these projects. And honestly, even if you're doing a smaller project like a fix and flip, if you're adding an addition to that house, if you are taking out a wall and putting in new plumbing, new electrical, all of that, you need someone who understands how all of that is supposed to flow in that property. And I'm gonna tell you, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, when you get that permit, that permitting officer, when he comes in to take a look and check to make sure everything's straight, he's going to want to see architectural plans, period, point blank.
With a stamp. With the stamp.
With the stamp. Exactly. With the stamp. You're absolutely right.
And I want to give a shout out before we go.
Yeah, no, you're good. Go ahead.
So remember when I said that I called someone up and they helped me set my firm up? Mm-hmm. It was my old employer, Raynald Harris, coming AIA of Harris Plus Smith. Y'all check out Harris Plus Smith in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually headed to his event tonight at the Beverly Hilton. Okay. He flew out here. There's a Spelman Morehouse event where it's like the Black Hollywood, you know, because I guess I inspired him after he helped me and I told him how much money I made on P-Valley. He decided to become a producer in his spare time. Oh. So he teamed up with some guys from Morehouse, and they have an event every year in Beverly Hills, and they fly out. And last year, some P-Valley people came, DJ Neverscared and others. And so it's just, again, it wasn't him just helping me like I was a needy charity case. I inspired him too. And he's older, and he decided to get his groove back and, you know, make some money in his spare time. And I'm actually going to his event tonight. So when I say that I'm close to my mentors, I'm not just saying that for a podcast. Like, we really are close, and he wants the best for me, and I want the best for him.
Awesome. I mean, that's the last dime that was dropped, y'all. Seriously, it is so important to have mentors. It's so important to be interactive with mentors. And what I love about that is that sometimes the mentee does assist the mentor as well. You know, we think oftentimes we are just the givers, and not in a negative sense. Our mentees are takers, but there's so much that we can learn from them because oftentimes they're younger than us. And they come with new ideas and things that we haven't even thought about because of the time that they grew up. And so, you know, having someone like that, and then the fact that he was able to learn something from you and kind of reinvent himself a little bit, that's just absolutely amazing. So good stuff. Enjoy. I know you're going to look beautiful tonight. I already know you showed up today, like
yeah, I'm gonna do a little something since I'm going to the Beverly Hills.
Yes. Well, enjoy, and thank you again so much for being a part of Development Dimes.
Thank you, Tawanda, for having me. I'm just absolutely honored, you know, and for you to be a female doing this. I know, like, the manosphere is happening right now with the guys with the podcast of who eat first, the kids, the daddy, or the cat, and blah 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 blah. We need a break from that, you know. Thank you for having a podcast about something actually needed and intelligent and is fact-based versus just opinion and ego-based.
Yeah, well, you know what? I appreciate that. And that's what it's all about, right? I just need to get it out there to inspire other women and other young ladies, you know, like us, to get out there and be an integral part of this world, and know that you have a voice, and know that you're smart and you're not just a pretty face, because we can be cute. Okay.
You gotta be beauty and brains, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's saying that beauty and brains these days because they're seeing that in a rapper. No, that ain't beauty and brains.
That part.
I hate on you, but I'm just being honest. And you went to DeVry, and now you beauty and brains. No, it's women out here really doing it, you know?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And so, you know, she mentioned it. I forgot to mention it. So my sincere apologies, but I love the fact that you went to Tuskegee. You know, that's a big deal. That really is a big deal, because again, our
ancestors are smiling.
Yes, you know, HBCUs they put out some amazing, intelligent people, and if we can't be seen, we're going to be seen.
And
So
those former slaves built that campus. They even made the bricks.
amen. Amen. So good stuff. Well, thank you again. Enjoy tonight. And then hopefully later we'll be able to bring you on and have some other conversation. I'm quite sure you're going to be doing some more big things. Women entrepreneurs are doing it, y'all. And we're doing it in different facets of real estate. You don't have to do one or the other. So, you know, we have, again, an architect, we have an investor, developer. So good stuff. Thanks again for joining us. Another episode of Development Dimes. Thanks. Bye. Okay.
That was fun.